And that is, I call it the death spiral, and in particular, the Kaiser Permanente death spiral, because they're frankly the cause of it. So when I was a broker full-time and doing the dance, we probably had, I had thousands and thousands and thousands of Kaiser Permanente members underneath my book of business. I was probably one of the top 3 Kaiser brokers here in Northern California, Sacramento region. And almost every single one of my clients had a component that was Kaiser Permanente. And listen, Kaiser is one of those things, you love it, you hate it. People are born there, they die there. I mean, it's a lifelong relationship, and they know that. And so when it comes to making decisions around your plan, and Kaiser is part of the mix, you have to pay attention to some things that it may not otherwise be obvious to you.
Welcome to the Clearly Beneficial Podcast, the show where we rip off the Band-Aid and explore the future of healthcare, benefits, and the people driving innovation in the industry.
Hey everybody, happy Monday. Here we are, end of July. And by now, many of you who are in HR and finance are pondering your 2027 health insurance renewals for this coming open enrollment season. And, it's never an easy time. I think there's nothing that strikes more fear in the hearts of HR folks than hearing the words renewal time. And I know this year is probably very difficult for a lot of organizations. I saw the other day on TV that on average, Covered California, for example, will be experiencing a 10% rate increase for most of its plans on average. And wouldn't surprise me that you in small group, that translates to you in small groups throughout California. And then large groups, depending upon what's going on with you, could very well be looking at 10 to 15% rate increases. And so it requires good decision making. It requires thoughtfulness. But also keep in mind, you're going to be under a time pressure right now to make a decision. And you don't have a lot of time really, and don't make a bad decision. I mean, sometimes maybe you take the renewal as is, and then as we go into 2027, we partner together and we take a look at what a real strategy for the next 5 years looks like versus worrying about the next renewal. But today, what I wanted to really cover is something that I think few people really talk about, and that is, I call it the death spiral, and in particular, the Kaiser Permanente death spiral, because they're frankly the cause of it. So when I was a broker full-time and doing the dance, I probably had, I had thousands and thousands and thousands of Kaiser Permanente members underneath my book of business. I was probably one of the top 3 Kaiser brokers here in Northern California, Sacramento region. And almost every single one of my clients had a component that was Kaiser Permanente. And listen, Kaiser is one of those things, you love it, you hate it. People are born there, they die there. I mean, it's a lifelong relationship, and they know that. And so when it comes to making decisions around your plan, and Kaiser is part of the mix, you have to pay attention to some things that it may not otherwise be obvious to you. And the first part of it is, how do you choose to, charge your employees for the premium associated with Kaiser and the other carrier? Because usually there's going to be Kaiser plus 1, or in certain regions, it could even be Kaiser plus 2. Sacramento region is a little unique because we have 2 local HMOs that Western Health and Sutter Health Plan, that we call it the triple play. You can have Kaiser, Western, and Sutter. And generally the 3 of them, I hate to say this, but match and mirror rates, pretty well with each other. But in some cases, you can't match and mirror next to Kaiser, especially if the other carrier is one of the large nationals, UHC, Cigna, Aetna, Anthem, or locally in California, Blue Shield of California. So you can't really, easily play a triple play in those situations. And so what happens is, Kaiser historically, and this is true, historically, they have been the one with the lower premium. So that's that monthly number that you're going to pay on behalf of an employee. So that lower premium could be 10%, 20% lower than the non-Kaiser carrier. So what does that generally mean? You and your finance team and your HR team, you all decide to move forward with your renewal, and then you price the plans to your employees based on the premium that you're being charged. So that honestly is an old strategy. It's been used for years, but it also creates this notion of adverse selection to the non-Kaiser carrier, because as premiums have increased over the years, and they have increased. I mean, back in the day, I remember the days 20 years ago when, insuring one employee per month was $150. Now we're pushing 800, 900, $1,000 to insure one employee per month. And so as you've cost shared with employees, as you've increased the cost share for employees, and you've priced those sharings along with the price of the premium, and the Kaiser plan has been lower, you've noticed probably that employees walk with their wallets. They may have been a dyed non-Kaiser person, but then they take a look at their paycheck and go, man, the Kaiser bit's much lower. I'm going to buy that for me and my family. So what happens over time is that the Kaiser enrollment with your group increases. The non-Kaiser carrier loses membership, and that creates what we call the death spiral. And so how do you protect yourself from the death spiral? Okay, the first thing to do, frankly, is to look at your plan from a holistic perspective and say, what is the total cost of my plan? And whether the premium is $800 per month to you from the insurance company or Kaiser, or $1,000 to you from the non-Kaiser carrier, for example, you should work out your finances such that the employee is not penalized for anything. Meaning they should have a cost share, but they shouldn't pay less for the carrier that costs less. Now that may sound completely counterintuitive, but what you're doing here by making that a strategy is you're protecting the health of your plan long term. Most people ignore this. Most brokers won't tell you to do this, but it's part of the most important things you can do. Because if you don't, all right, over time, you're going to see leakage, okay, from the non-Kaiser carrier to Kaiser. And as that leakage occurs, the non-Kaiser carrier loses membership. They take a look at their math and they say, well, the math ain't mathing. And so we need to increase the amount of money we charge you. So you start to begin this divergence. Okay, the divergence is the non-Kaiser carrier starts giving you a higher increase. The Kaiser, they sit there because they'll take whatever membership they get and they're going to play whatever game they want to play, but they're always going to try to position themselves as a lower cost play with the organization that you're working with, or your own organization. So the key is to take a look at the cost, overall cost, and then from there, decide on a premium that's equivalent so the employee can pick Kaiser or not Kaiser and pay the same thing. Okay, that is probably one of the best strategies you can work on. Now, people might grumble, oh my God, Kaiser costs less, I should be charged less. That's not the point. The point is keeping that health plan, the other health plan, healthy over the long term. Because at some point, that other health plan is going to come across with an unreasonable renewal. And I've seen it happen. They'll come across with a 40% renewal, literally just to get rid of you. Okay, so what happens then? So now now let's pick on Anthem for a second. Anthem gets rid of you, okay? And now you're stuck with a handful of others in the marketplace that are capable of insuring your population, okay? So now what happens is United Healthcare, Blue Shield, everybody throws a price into the mix, okay? And one of them will come in with a competitive price for year one with the hopes, right, that they will gain enough membership to withstand the pricing of the situation, okay? So if you're in that situation and that occurs, another strategy to consider is actually just freezing the Kaiser membership. Oh my God, you can't do that, right? Oh my God, my employees will freak. Not the employees who currently have it, but any new hire coming into the situation, being hired by the organization, should not have access to Kaiser. They should have access to the other thing. okay? Because you have to look strategically, you have to look long term, and you want good partners, okay? At the end of the day, insurance companies know that you've gone to market every year, that your broker has gone for quotes every single year, and they don't look at that favorably. Most insurance companies like stability. You should like stability. And therefore, they will price things out in a way that benefits them, but also how they mind the risk to themselves. So as you are making decisions, it's not an easy one because people have very strong feelings about something like Kaiser Permanente. And what I've told clients in the past is, well, you've gotten to a point where, you're 60% Kaiser, 70% Kaiser, sometimes 80% Kaiser. I've seen one organization do this to itself. And then, it was almost impossible to find another insurance partner to play ball with them. And so at that point, just go all Kaiser. That's an option, okay? Kaiser's got reasonable plan selection choices. They're innovating in many, many ways. They don't know how to price their PPO. I mean, that's just insane. But it is what it is. And in the aggregate, it still may make economic sense to do something like that, especially when you need to insure out-of-area people. So going 100% Kaiser may not be the worst decision in the world. But if you're not going to go 100% Kaiser, you have to protect yourself, okay, from the death spiral because it'll ultimately catch up with you. So if this strategy is something that resonates with you, give me a call or shoot me an email at vincent@clearhcs.com and let's have a conversation. I'm not looking to replace any broker or a relationship that you currently have in place. I don't want to do that. But what I can do is bring you a level of strategic conversation that you're not currently having with your broker. They think they might be doing it, and you might think they're doing it, but they're not doing it. Okay, so the role I could play is as an arbiter, as a strategic advisor, as someone who can give you better ideas about how to use your health plan and health insurance renewals, because I strongly believe that there's two tracks. There's the renewal hamster wheel, and then there's a strategic hamster wheel. And I'm going to help you be very effective on that strategic hamster wheel. So be in touch. Let us know how we can help, and continued good luck during this renewal season. Take care. This podcast reflects the personal views of the host and guests, not their employers or sponsors. See you next time.